Hello everyone, welcome to Law Simplified by Akaitav Abedin, where we break down complex legal topics in a very simple way for all of you. So today we are going to understand the preamble of the Indian Constitution. We will try to understand the meaning, the values and the importance of the preamble. So without wasting any further time, let's begin with the video. The preamble of the Indian Constitution reflects the core values we as a nation believe in. So let's start this presentation by reading the preamble of the Indian Constitution so we can have a better idea. So if you read the first few words of our preamble, we the people of India, this means that the power of the Indian Constitution comes from the people of this nation. Next, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, this part defines that the nature of our country is free, fair, inclusive, and people powered. Next, if you see, justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thoughts, expression of belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, fraternity, the dignity of the individual, and the unity and the integrity of the nation. These are the core values our constitution promises to every people of our country. And if you see the last sentence of the preamble, in our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give ourselves to this Constitution. This shows that it was the people's representative who made this Constitution and we gave it to ourselves. So now we have read and briefly understood about preamble. So let's take a look at the historical background of the preamble, how this powerful piece of text came into existence. Let's quickly understand where it all came from. These values we see in the preamble, they were not randomly written down, right? They actually trace back to something called Objectives Resolution, which was introduced by Pandit Nehru in the Constituent Assembly. You can think of it like this. The Objectives Resolution was kind of a first draft of India's ideals. Why I'm saying this? Because it talked about things like justice, equality, liberty, sovereignty, fraternity. These same values we now see in the preamble. So when the constitution was being written, this resolution became the foundation of our constitution. It reflects the hope of a nation that had just gained independence and wanted to build a fair and inclusive future for the people of its country. So now let's talk about the philosophy and the intention behind the preamble. Because in my opinion, preamble is not just an introduction to our constitution, but also the soul of our constitution. First of all, it reflects the core values of the constitution, that what kind of country we want to build, what are the principles we stand for. It also acts as a guiding spirit of our constitution. That means whenever there is a doubt about how to interpret a provision, the preamble gives us the direction. It clearly emphasizes four fundamental principles like justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Through the preamble, India is defined as a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. And each of these words describes this character of our nation. It also aims to secure the dignity of every individual while also promoting the unity and integrity of the nation. Now, even though preamble is very much important, but it is not a source of power or limitation because it does not grant any specific rights or power, but it plays a huge role in interpreting the rest of the constitution. In fact, court often refer to the preamble when they are trying to understand the intent and the spirit behind a constitutional provision. So in simple terms, the preamble tells us what India as a nation believes in and what the constitution is trying to achieve. So now we will try to understand the meaning of the key words mentioned in the preamble. So let's start with the first word, sovereign. So what does sovereign mean? It simply means that India is free and an independent country. We don't take orders from any other nation. We make our own rules, whether they're about internal matters or global affairs. So here we're talking about two kinds of sovereignty. One is internal sovereignty, another one is external sovereignty. When we say external sovereignty, we mean that India is free to set its own foreign policy. No other country can interfere in how we build international relations or sign treaties. And when we say internal sovereignty, that means that within our territory, our government, the Indian government, has full authority to govern, make laws, maintain order, basically run the country without any outside influence. So, in a nutshell, being sovereign means India is its own master, free to decide its path, both at home and the global level. Now, let's talk about the second word, socialist, which was added to the preamble by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act in the year 1976. So, in the Indian context, socialism means social and economic equality. It's about creating a society where there is less inequality between the rich and the poor. The aim is to build a welfare state where the government takes active steps to uplift the weaker section, whether it's through public healthcare, education subsidies, or job schemes. But there is something important that we have to understand, that India's socialism is not like the socialism of the Soviet model. Because in the Soviet model, socialism meant complete state control over the economy, industries, and the property. In economic terms, we say that the means of production owned by the government. But in India, we follow something called Fabian or democratic socialism. This is very much important because this means that we believe in achieving equality through democratic and constitutional means and not by any violent revolution. That is why we still allow private property and market economy, but with government regulation to ensure that the growth is inclusive and fair. The courts have also supported this idea. In the case of D.S. Nakara versus Union of India, 1983, the Supreme Court said that the socialism in India is about building a welfare state that ensures a decent standard of life for all citizens. Also, in the case of Samatha versus State of Andhra Pradesh, 1997, the court emphasized that the being socialist means making sure that they can access natural resources. In short, India's socialism is inclusive and democratic, designed to balance growth with justice. Now let's look at the term secular, which was also added by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1976. So in simple terms, India has no official religion. The state does not belong to any one faith, or it does not promote or favor any religion over another. Every citizen is free to practice, preach, propagate the religion of their own choice, or even choose not to follow any religion at all. This is what gives India its unique character as a diverse and pluralistic democracy. The idea is that the state maintains equal distance from all the religions, ensuring freedom of religion and religious harmony across the country. The concept of secularism was strongly upheld in the landmark case of S.R. Bomai vs. Union of India 1994. The Supreme Court held that the secularism is a part of the basic structure doctrine, which means it cannot be amended or removed. The judgment also clarified that the state must remain neutral in religious matters. It cannot promote or interfere in any religion. Another important case is Indra Swami versus Union of India 1992. This case was relating to the reservation policy of the other backward classes. Here, the court pointed out that secularism means equal treatment for all communities. It also clarified that affirmative actions like reservation for the backward classes is perfectly valid as long as it based on social and educational backwardness. So, in the Indian context, secularism does not mean anti-religion, but it means equal respect for all the religions and protection of individual freedom of belief. Moving on to the next important word, democratic, which means that in India, the power lies with the people. We don't have a king or a dictator. Instead, we elect our leaders through regular elections. And how do we do that? Through what we call universal adult franchise, which simply means that every citizen above 18 years of age has the right to vote, regardless of their caste, gender, religion, or economic background. This system of universal adult franchise ensures that everyone's voice counts and that the government truly represents the will of the people. But democracy does not just stop at elections, it also means accountable governance. Leaders are answerable to the public and their power is not absolute. And while majority rule is followed, minority rights are also protected. That is the beauty of Indian democracy. It's not just about numbers, it's also about inclusion, dignity, and fairness. So when we say India is a democratic republic, we mean country run by the people, for the people, through the people. Let's now look at the word republic. So, in simple terms, a republic is a country where the head of the state is elected and not born into power. In India, the head of the state is the president, who is chosen by an electoral process and not by royal bloodline or dynasty. This guarantees that any citizen, regardless of the birth, caste, or social class, can hold the highest office in this country. It's a powerful reflection of equality and opportunity in our democracy. Now let's talk about the four pillars that completes the preamble's core values. Those four pillars are justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Let's start with the word justice. So justice in the Indian constitution is three-dimensional: social justice, economic justice, political justice. So social justice, it means no one should face discrimination based on caste, gender, religion, or background. Everyone deserves equal dignity in the society. Economic justice, this ensures that resources and wealth are shared fairly and everyone has equal opportunities to grow, especially the poor and the marginalized section of our society. Political justice, this means equal participation in the democratic process. Every citizen should have an equal voice in decision making through voting and representation. Moving to the next word, liberty. So, the Constitution of India guarantees freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. This means that we are free to think the way we want, speak our mind, follow any religion, or even none at all. It protects our individual choice and dignity, ensures that every religion has the space to live and believe freely without fear or interference. Next, we have equality. This ensures that every citizen is treated equally in the eyes of law. There can be no discrimination based on caste, gender, religion, race, or place of birth. It also promotes equal access to education, public employment, and justice so that no one is left behind because of where they came from or who they are. And finally, fraternity. This is about promoting a sense of brotherhood among all the people of our country. It encourages us to see beyond division and live with mutual respect. Fraternity also aims to preserve the unity and the integrity of our nation, while also ensuring the dignity of every individual regardless of their identity. Together, the four principles of justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity shows the inclusive nature of our country. Now, here is an interesting question. The most important question relating to the preamble of the Indian Constitution. That is the preamble actually part of the Indian Constitution and can it be amended? Well, the answer has evolved over time through major Supreme Court cases. Let's go back to the Beruberi Union case in 1960. In this case, Supreme Court said that the preamble is not a part of the Indian Constitution. It was seen more like an introduction and not legally enforceable. But then came a historic turning point. In the case of Kesavananda Bharti case of 1973, the court completely overruled the Biruvadi case and held that yes, the preamble is a part of the Indian constitution, and more importantly, it reflects the basic structure of our constitution, which cannot be destroyed or tampered with. This also later affirmed in the case of Esa Bomai case in 1994, where the court said that the ideals like secularism in the preamble are part of the basic structure doctrine, and therefore it cannot be amended or removed. Finally, in the case of LIC of India versus Consumer Educational Research Center 1995, the court emphasized that preamble acts as a guiding light, a tool to help interpret the constitution. Whenever there is a confusion or doubt, the preamble helps court understand the spirit and intention behind the law. So, in short, yes, the preamble is a part of the Indian Constitution. It can be amended, but only as long as those amendments don't harm the basic structure doctrine of our Constitution. So, with this, we come to the end of our discussion on the preamble of the Indian Constitution. I hope now we have a better understanding of the topic. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any question or thoughts, feel free to drop them in the comments below. So, see you in the next video. Until then, take care and keep learning. Thank you.